Hola and welcome. My name is Daniela Perez, and I'm WIA's North America and Pacific Programs Director. Since 2016, WIA has been providing leadership, strategy, and technical training for women leaders to scale their climate and environmental initiatives while connecting them to a global alliance of peers, mentors, and funders. Thank you so much for being here today to really make space and listen to a wonderful group of powerful women who are doing a lot to connect their communities with land. And I'm so excited to make space for them today to share. It's so wonderful to be here with you, creating space for these 8 women leaders who are working to achieve liberation by decolonizing and healing from the systemic barriers that separate their communities from land. But before diving in, I first want to recognize that while we are gathering virtually today, and while WIA has a global team located around the world, our home office is based in what is currently known as Berkeley, California, in the Bay Area, but what is also known as Huichin, the ancestral and unceded land of the Ohlone people. And I want to thank our Ohlone relatives for allowing us to call that place home. We recognize that we are on stolen land, and we, as an organization, as community members, have a responsibility to do all that we can to be good guests of these lands and its original stewards. And while land acknowledgements are an important first step, they must always be followed up with action. In Huichin, we take action by naming the ongoing and normalized colonization of indigenous lands, by speaking the original name of this land, by collaborating with local Ohlone leaders like Karina Gold, the spokesperson of the Confederated Villages of the Lisjan Ohlone, who was also a designer and facilitator in the US Grassroots Accelerator program, and through our Shumi land tax, which supports our colleagues at the Sogorea Land Trust as they do the important work of rematriating their lands. We do this because collectively, as an alliance, we envision a future that is thriving, sustainable, and also just. And to get started, I would love to get a sense of who else is here in the space with us. So if you want to share in the chat, write your name, maybe your title, where you're joining us from, the land where you are standing today. We'd like to invite you all to share, to get an idea of who is in community with us. And as today's session continues, please feel free to keep sharing in the chat any resources or ways that you take action to ensure land is rematriated, returned, and there's equitable access to land in your communities. With that, I would love to invite Sabrina Chapa of Ties to la Tierra, a leader in the 2023 US Regenerative Agriculture and Health Accelerator program, to lead a short grounding for us to arrive in our bodies today. During the program, this is how we start each of our calls. So it is very special for us to invite you into the space as if we were in one of our program calls, gathering together, bringing our energies together, and our body is grounded. So with that, I want to invite Sabrina to please take it away and lead us through a short grounding.
Yeah. Hi, y'all. Can y'all hear me? Cool. All right. So, of course, I'm going to start this off by doing maybe 4 deep breaths together. So let's, synchronize our breathing. Ready? Breathe in and out. And in and out. And in and out. and in, and out. Now I want you to keep your eyes closed, and I want you to imagine yourself outside under the sky with the fresh air. And I want you to imagine yourself in a place where there's a ton of plants. And I want you to find the closest tree you are near. I don't know what that tree is, only you do. Could be an oak, could be a pine, could be a mesquite tree, palm tree. And I want you to go to that tree. And I want you to imagine that you find a leaf on the ground. And you pick up that leaf. And at the same time you pick up that leaf, you're thinking about all of the troubles that you carry right now. What are they? What are the troubles that you're going through in this very moment? How heavy are they? They're so heavy. Wouldn't you just like to put all of your troubles onto that leaf and let it blow away in the wind? Or maybe you decide to put the leaf on, on some water body and let it float away. So continue to put everything that's weighing you down onto that leaf. And whenever you're ready, let the leaf go. Watch it fly away from you. And once you left it, take a deep breath in and out and open your eyes. Okay. Thank y'all for letting me have this space to do this grounding.
Thank you so much. That was so helpful. I definitely visualized a nice, beautiful, big, like maple leaf that, when they get that fall discoloration, they're very yellow, but they have this like almost like still green to it. And it took all my troubles away. So I appreciated that invitation. Um, and yeah, and that to say that this is exactly how we familiarize with each other. We arrive almost every Wednesday to greet each other, to share how we are in this life, and almost every time we're carrying something difficult, we're carrying something stressful, and we get to get grounded together and share that with each other, and make space for a lot of goodness and a lot of vision to come through. So we thought this was the best way to start our call today. Just exactly what makes space for our vision to come through is this ability to be present with each other, to be grounded with each other. And I appreciate you, Sabrina, so much for bringing your wisdom and your connection to your trees and your leaves, to allow us to be present together, and to invite everybody, all the leaders that are here today, to share their wisdom from a place of knowing their presence, knowing their value, knowing their truth. So thank you so much for leading that grounding. As a way of context, I would love to share a little more about the reason for this call. This year's program is following the backbone of the US Grassroots Accelerator program, a program that launched in 2019 in partnership with the Sierra Club, with the intention to support women leaders all across the US territories. WIA recognizes that, like our counterparts in the global majority, women in the US leading environmental action were underserved in every way. As such, WIA's key strategy is to provide training, resources, and collective action and collaboration of a powerful alliance to address barriers that prevent grassroots women leaders from scaling their urgently needed environmental and climate solutions. We're excited to share a quick video that gives you a closer look at our accelerator model in action. And so with that little bit of background of where this program is situated in the global context of WIA, I'd like to ask Kia, our program manager, to help me by sharing this beautiful accelerator video in action.
We are what make up the global community. It is grassroots. That is where it's always started. That's where it's always begun. So in supporting this, we support the world that we want to create.
Thank you for watching that short video that kind of demonstrates how we work in this accelerator model by really focusing on grassroots-led initiatives. And there's this beautiful transition that we were privileged enough to lead as a program team. Both me and Kia, our program manager, who just shared this video, is as a result of doing some deep listening to our alliance and what is alive for many of our communities, our team recognized the need to take this robust and intersectional US Grassroots Accelerator program and really focus it into serve a more specific need. So this year's accelerator, we launched for the first time ever a sector-specific accelerator, drawing a circle around regenerative agriculture and health here in the US and US territories. As part of this program, our solution series are designed as a space for accelerator leaders to share and celebrate the initiatives, campaigns, and sustainable enterprises they've been growing and deepening throughout this program, and really to show the way their leadership has shown up as a result of some of the challenges they are experiencing in their communities. Throughout the programs, leaders have been able to create a detailed action plan for their visionary community goals. And we are honored to create this space for these innovative leaders to share with us how their communities are experiencing environmental violence, other forms of violence, and the solutions they are putting forth to heal and create pathways towards liberation and justice. During today's solution series, we're going to be talking about specifically building power for rematriation and land access. As part of our program, we hosted a module call on land back and land access to deepen and build strategies together on how our communities access land and engage in land return. This module was facilitated by Dr. Ketcha Reisling-Badley, Associate Professor at Humboldt State University and author of Dancing for You, Native Feminisms and the Revitalization of Women's Coming of Age Ceremonies. In this module, Dr. Ketcha shared a presentation that she titled The Land Knows Me, where she shared that everything in history comes back to land, who owns it, and who they are displacing in the process. For example, the disparities in California, this is just looking at micro, COSM, a state, where two families own more land than all of the federally recognized tribes put together in California. This following a trend in the US where about 96% of land is owned by white wealthy minority, right? And so land return and collaborations for land justice for women of color and Native women is the key for climate justice and the key for the protection of biodiversity. We've seen this time and time again, how women of color, Native women, really when given the opportunity to care for land, the land management practices that follow and the biodiversity that is protective is invaluable. So today you'll have a chance to hear from 8 women who are working to achieve liberation by decolonizing and healing from the systemic barriers that separate their communities from land. Dr. Kucha's words are living through the leaders in today's call. And I want to welcome Kia Leek, we as North America and Pacific Manager, to moderate the flow between our presenters today. Kia, please feel free to take it away.
Everybody, so good to see all of your faces. Thank you so much for coming. I mean, it's such a pleasure. to pass it off to these wonderful leaders I've had the pleasure to get to know over these few months, and really looking forward to our continued journey together. So we're gonna start off with Brianna Garcia, and I'll leave it to her to introduce herself and share a little bit more about her work.
Thank you. Hello. Hi, everybody. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm Brianna Garcia. I use she, her pronouns. I am the Environmental Justice Communications Manager at Little Manila Rising, a nonprofit organization in Stockton, California. And, well, I believe that people have a right to nature. I believe that environmental justice is social justice, and that the health of the environment is irrevocably tied to the health, happiness, and prosperity of people. People are deserving of beautiful and healthy neighborhoods to thrive in. This is a simple vision, yet feels almost impossible to achieve because of racist practices and policies determining who gets to live and thrive and who doesn't. Although redlining has been outlawed, this forgotten history of how the US government segregated itself, the effects still linger. And when I talk about redlining, this is a history that started in the 1930s. And I'm talking about housing segregation, missed economic opportunities for specific groups of people, and a real imbalance in wealth, education, health, and environment. And when I say health, I mean the health of our environment, and also the health of people, and the health of our four-legged relatives and kin. So my role in South Stockton community is to share stories and hope that people will find power within themselves and a connection to one another and their environment. Through US Accelerator program, I'm looking ahead and into the future of how best I can support South Stockton and support people's healing journey of their environment. And before I get more into this, I just want everybody to, if you'd be so kind to close your eyes for a minute. I want to paint a picture for you all. So picture this: narrow sidewalks, not enough trees, and houses all packed in like sardines, making the pollution and health issues worse. And so open your eyes. This is a reality that many people who have been redlined are experiencing, and it's not the green paradise we deserve. But there's good news. Little Manila Rising has a plan to turn things around. We are teaming up with the city of Stockton, and we were fortunate enough to receive a really foundational funding through the Transformative Climate Communities program, and this is a statewide initiative throughout California. And our skilled team of folks know their way around gardening, farming, and teaching, because there's more to planting a tree than digging a hole. They're not just planting trees. Our team, we're building trust and getting the community involved in making our neighborhoods beautiful. We're also giving training opportunities to older adults and formerly incarcerated folks who've been through a lot, and helping them get into the urban forestation and conservation fields. And so this is the work that I have been able to focus on through US Accelerator program, is to help uplift and enhance and accelerate these efforts. And so whether or not South Stockton is your stomping ground, you get curious about why things look the way they do. Join in and support the movement to restore South Stockton's greenery. So let's talk about trees and air quality and community, because everyone deserves a breath of fresh air. And yeah, we can do this. And I think through the program, I feel like we need to do this together. So thank you, everybody. And yeah, I hope you all stay curious and ask questions. And I'll pass it back to Kia.
Thank you so much for your heart, honestly, your heart for trees and confronting trauma in ways that people don't always see clearly. Because like you said, planting a tree is so much more than digging a hole in the ground. It's putting part of yourself into it. It's being attentive to it. It's caring for it. It's nurturing it. It's following it and seeing beyond yourself, because you probably won't even see that tree. And so thank you for that. I'm going to pass it on to Ebonie next.
Thanks, Kia. Welcome, everyone. I am Ebonie Randle. I am here in the city of Cleveland, Ohio. I am the executive director of Shalom and Tranquility Garden Network. I am, after my experience with WIA, formerly I used to call myself, I would tell everybody I am your favorite farmer. But after my experience through WIA, I lovingly refer to myself as a cultivator of hearts. I use gardening to cultivate the hearts of the people in my community and throughout my city. I am a motivated momvocate. What is that, Ebonie? What are you talking about? I am a mother who is an advocate. I am a caregiver. I am a champion in a community of individuals with disabilities because my family is affected by disabilities. I am also a female social agropreneur. So beyond all of that, here sums it up. I'm just a girl digging in the dirt in the backyard, across the alley in my neighborhood. That's me. Oh, Kia, I think I gave you some slides to share. Can we share those slides? At least that slide one. Oh, the picture to my right is where we all began. Shalom and Tranquility in 2022 was first established as a community garden. But first, we had to get through all of that, what you see. And you can't see the back. It was a mess. You name it, it was in there. The only thing we did not find is a dead body. And that is the truth. So we were established in 2020 here in the historic community of Brooklyn Center in Cleveland, Ohio. It was then, as you can see, an overgrown, unsafe, vacant city property. Similar to many communities in Cleveland, the Brooklyn Center community is plagued by food apartheid and many other forms of environmental violence, including, but not limited to, drug abuse, gun violence, physical and sexual assaults, contamination of our homes and land through, just to name off the top of my head, heavy metal toxins, including lead. Here in the city of Cleveland, we have a huge issue with lead. Through many tears, the sweat equity that comes with hard work and partnership, Shalom and Tranquility has become a haven in our community and around our city to the people. Under my stewardship, what was once considered a blighted block has now become an inclusive and diverse oasis for all. We were once stewarding one city plot. We were just in that plot that was pictured. We now care for 4 lots on 1 block. That includes our community garden, our micro farm, our natural play place, and a large community gathering space. And as of this year, we now own one of those lots. Kia, can you show the slide, the second slide? That is what that space looks like now. That's an overhead view of our part of the front of our community garden. My participation in the 2023 WIA cohort has healed my once clogged throat chakra. I can now publicly and loudly proclaim, yes, I am mad. I can unapologetically, with passion in my voice, share my story and not care if I am seen as the proverbial angry Black woman. Being a participant in this WIA cohort has equipped me with tools to further the work so that I can go get the money and buy up the block. Not just so I could, have clout to my name, but to leave a legacy, a pattern of difference making for all of my children, the few of my womb and the many of my heart. Being a participant in WIA allows me to be a trailblazer for the women of all age demographics, especially those that are leaders right now, not of tomorrow, our young people. As we're entrenched in the looming presence of urban renewal here in our city, let me start that over. As we are entrenched in the looming presence of urban renewal and with our own dreams and desires of land ownership, we still keep doing the work, which doesn't always come easy. The challenges are great and many, yet they don't outweigh the benefits. I've had, recently the experience of witnessing a murder. I've had to resuscitate individuals inside of the garden who have been on the brink of life and death because of drug use. I have endured insurmountable grief, even as of last Monday, which was my birthday, with my uncle passing away on that day. I have endured the loss of friendships and even romantic relationships. But through it all, we have kept on moving forward in spite of all of the challenges. During our regular cleanups, we have found guns inside of tall grass, along fence lines, countless needles used for injecting drugs. But I am very, very proud and pleased to report to you that are all in attendance in this meeting today. As of this season, we have found not one needle or one gun or one person in a state of overdose in the garden. That's big. My participation in this cohort, I will never, ever, ever forget. WIA has given me a newfound liberty to take up all the space that I need. I am not a small woman. Take up all the space that I need and to freely tell the story of the work at Shalom and Tranquility. WIA has given me access to resources to include the expansion of my network, for it is said that your network is your net worth. Similar to a pregnant woman, I've nurtured this seed planted deep in my womb, and I'm expecting to give birth to expansion in all areas of my life, personally and professionally. So I invite you all of you are invited on this journey as the work grows and enhances. I invite you along this journey. Don't strap in. Do not strap in. You need to be loose. You got to be able to move, got to be able to pivot. But I invite you all along this journey with me that is called Shalom and Tranquility. Kia, it's yours.
Oh man, you always bring down the house, Ebonie. Because our network is our net worth. Thank you for sharing so much and showing us the intersection between land and our wellness and the health of our communities. And you're doing that work. And so thank you for sharing that. I'm going to pass it to Elena next.
Hi, everyone. Hello. My name is Elena Jacobs Allred. I am a citizen of the Lumbee Tribe of North Carolina. I currently serve as the program coordinator for the Alliance of Native Seed Keepers and an organizer for our Longhouse community. Alliance of Native Seed Keepers is a seed company operating in traditional Tuscarora homelands of Bertie County, North Carolina. We are dedicated to rejuvenating the sacred connections between our people and the seeds that nourish us. Through this profound relationship, we foster a deeper understanding and remembering of environmental stewardship, cultural integrity, economic wisdom, and holistic health. Our mission is to inspire and empower individuals and communities to embrace these values, creating a harmonious balance that honors our heritage and guides us towards a flourishing future. To give a little context for those who aren't familiar with North Carolina tribal history, the Tuscarora are some of the original people of the state of North Carolina. After years of war and conflict, we have gone through land loss and relocation, language loss, and cultural erasure. At the center of that is our knowledge of seeds and agriculture. We believe that our cosmology informs our agricultural practices, and that informs every other aspect of who we are as a people. The Alliance was dedicated to tackling these issues and reclaiming our traditional longhouse religion and structure. There are several facets of the work that we do, such as the seed store itself, land rematriation, and cultural reclamation. My personal project and work with the Alliance is connecting these areas to complete our puzzle. Prior to myself joining the Alliance, the two owners were the entire company. Along with their personal lives and other work priorities, they tended to every part of this business, including the cultural work and outreach. Since I've been involved, I've been able to take some of that burden off of them and plan our traditional ceremonies and organizing our longhouse meetings. My goal is to spearhead more development and fundraising to support our ceremonies and all that goes into them. This work is paramount. It's vital for the survival of our cosmology and agricultural practices. A long-term goal of ours is to purchase our land back for the purpose of holding our ceremonies and growing our traditional sustainers of life. Along with this would go to learn our languages, learn our songs and dances. And now that I've been involved with the Alliance for the past year or so, I'm learning little bits of our Skarure language. And that stuff for me, that's priceless. You can't put a price on that. So that's another reason this stuff's so important for us. And in the past and currently, we have had a wide variety of supporters across Turtle Island who purchase our seeds every season. Not only do we want to promote sustainable agricultural practices for others, but we also want to educate our patrons on our mission, vision, and our goals. The education piece is another important part of my work, and receiving the support of our allies is always appreciated. Please see the link to our website, Alliance of Native Seed Keepers, that is provided, and feel free not only to share our business, but also look at our mission and see what we're about. Nyawe, thank you. Kia.
Thank you so much, Elena. It's so vital, stewarding our land, taking care of our seeds that are being lost. It's such a pleasure to have you here, Elena. We've been in partnership with the Alliance of Native Seed Keepers since our first cohort, when Beth Roach participated. And so it's been so great to deepen our network, because it's our network. I'm be saying that the entire call, Ebonie. So thank you, Elena, for sharing how vital this work is. I'm going to pass it to Jamie next.
Hey y'all. Good morning. I guess for me in California, maybe not East Coast folks. My name is Jamie Fanous. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the policy director at the Community Alliance with Family Farmers. I've been passionate about food systems and more specifically the farming community for decades now. While I didn't grow up on a farm, in fact, I grew up in the opposite in suburban New Jersey. Food has always been central to my culture, and farming very quickly became a passion of mine. Over the past decade, I've worked as a farmer, as in soil science, as a technical assistance provider, and the past few years I've entered into the fierce advocacy world and worked to uplift California small and underserved farmers. In my work at the Community Alliance with Family Farmers, or CAF, which represents over 8,000 family-scale farmers in California and has worked for over 45 years to preserve family-scale agriculture and promote environmental sustainability, what has been core has been land access. With this work, it's essential that all of our policy advocacy is farmer-centered and farmer-driven and as grassroots as possible. We do this by conducting intensive farmer engagement opportunities, collecting information and engaging with hundreds of farmers, primarily small and BIPOC producers. And it's an essential way we work to remain accountable when we share what we've been up to, what we've been successful with, what we weren't successful with, and most importantly, hear from farmers about what their most pressing challenges have been. The farmers I've been able to get to meet and work with are the most incredible producers in the world. Most, if not all, have an intense commitment to growing the healthiest produce possible and stewarding the lands that they grow, using little to no pesticides, planting habitat, really centering land stewardship in their work. But of course, without land, that's not possible. But not just land. I think about it in the context of land equity. Maybe many of you have heard terms like land access or land tenure, but more often than not, those terms don't really achieve the full vision. Land equity is much more meaningful. It's the ability for producers to have equitable access to secure land, to water, to housing, to resources. It's the ability to feel safe and secure in the land that you're stewarding, as well as the community that you're in. It's the ability for beginning farmers, many of whom previously were farm workers in the state of California, to own their own farms and businesses without the tremendous amount of hurdles they need to climb. It's the ability to produce food without the fear of being forcibly removed by your landlord or harassed to sell your land by a hedge fund, like we're seeing unfold in Solano County. It's the ability to grow food without fear of being sued by a greedy hedge fund over your water rights, which is what we're currently seeing unfold in the Cuyama Valley. And it's certainly without the fear of a warehouse developer forcibly harassing you and removing you from the land to build a new Amazon warehouse, which is currently happening in the Inland Empire. The list goes on and on and on, and the pressures are rising here in this state. Today, 5% of landowners own over 50% of California's farmland, and over 40% of farmland is rented or leased by non-farmers. So it is 100% clear that land in California is dominated by the few, and that's not slowing down. And the farming community that still exists are being forcibly removed every day. So in the past few years, I've been lucky enough to facilitate a BIPOC-led collective focused on developing transformational policy to solve these issues together. We've created what is now called the Land Equity Task Force at the state level at an agency called the Strategic Growth Council. And in this next year, we're aiming to take steps towards preventing land grabs from continuing and so much more. During my time with WEA, I've been able to dive deeper and think more deeply about what this movement needs. In particular, what resources we need to expand our collective capacity, increase farmer engagement, and build a real and significant campaign for current policy priorities and future efforts. I've been really excited about this opportunity to use this time and build this movement, and it's really been central to my being for reasons that sometimes feel unexplained, but really appreciate the opportunity to share it here in this space. So thank you.
Thank you, Jamie, for sharing that powerful work. It is so necessary for us to learn better ways to work with our government officials and organize and strategize on ways to create land equity. Really, land is the foundation for our work. And I want to take a little bit of a pause in between sharing. We have 4 more amazing leaders coming up, but I know that sometimes being on Zoom on a continuous, continuum, it can be sometimes a little hard. So I want to offer a little bit of a break, just to let our thoughts settle and really allow the voices of the leaders that were shared to sink into our minds, our memories, our bodies, so that we're able to share with those in our communities and our other alliances the power of this work. And I want to invite this pause and share a quick poem that inspires me to think about the grief that goes along with land, and also the beauty of land remembering us, specifically Indigenous people. And this is a poem, a section of a poem that is called "We Are Still Here" by Fui Fui Lupe Nui Me To. And it goes like this. The West Berkeley Shellmound, her native woman body, rests under asphalt, luminous mana, silenced by a parking lot, man-made and mundane. She is their private property, owned by a white settler family who refused to negotiate with Indians. On the battlegrounds in Huichin and under the hands of missionaries and mercenaries, all children's bones hung from trees like decomposed fekika fruit. The fragrant sour taste on our tongues. When we thought all was lost, the sacred was there. She picked up our memories, ancestors left for dead. She fed our mouths with the flesh of sweet acorn and salt water from her breast until we grew strong, fearless. She weaves the dance of death and birth into her long black hair, dreamtimes exchanged to collective breaths from our Moananui to Huichin. She cuffs our origin stories, birth before his arrival, innumerable constellations. They grow in our altars like the flowing yellow pua garlands in our hair. She is survivor, creation, creator. Always here. Yes, we remember the stories of us after the missionaries and the mercenaries are gone. Thank you for allowing me to share that poem. The first time I read it, it really allowed me to reflect on the grief and also the hope that lives, among us all about our relationship and our community's relationships to land. And specifically to know that the complexities of the inherited trauma that Native people in our communities are living, and it almost brings me to tears to think about the history and the remembering of how we got to where we are in terms of how land is distributed and who is displaced, and the food system that has led to the systemic continuation of stolen land and stolen labor. There is a different way to produce food. There is a different way to create abundance in our communities. And I am so proud of the leaders here who are showing us the way. And I want to allow for this pause to move now to our next leader, who is going to share a little bit with us about her vision. Kessi Waters Kimball, please take it away.
What a segue. We are still here, and yeah. Gwe. My name is Kessi Waters Kimball. Nina Mikma, Wijipunukwe Takuye. I am Mi'kmaq. I was born in the land of the dawn. I descend from the Listaguj First Nation. I am a foundation builder with Eastern Woodlands Rematriation Collective and the Director of Food Sovereignty for Bomazeen Land Trust. I'm also a board member for MAFCA and Farsian NE. For the past 5 years, I have been cultivating food, culture, and community with Maui Garden and my rockstar apprentices. We grow 5 acres of heirloom sister crops and raise poultry for community distribution. We host community days at the gardens and provide food processing and preservation workshops. Food is the intersection of culture and community. Our harvests are the core of the traditional foods shared in Niweskuk's community distributions. Niweskuk is the entity, the container to hold the land, our collective work, and educational programming. Encoded within Wabanaki traditional languages are our cosmologies. Niweskuk in the Penobscot language translates to dried seeds for planting, as well as essence of life and spirit. Wabanaki cosmologies embed us in broad kinship networks, which illuminate our interconnections, extending from the stars to the seeds. Collectively, we dreamt Niweskuk into existence. And with this has come some clarity on our echo, our impact into the future that we have a responsibility to nurture. As Wabanaki food providers, herbalists, and birth workers, we enact our responsibilities to our traditional matriarchies and to the generations forward, well grounded in the wisdom of our ancestors. We contribute to restoring matriarchies through centering, nurturing, and all our decision-making. Niweskuk embodies the transformative power that comes from moving away from extractive practices of exerting power over the land and our relatives, the animals, the plants, the water, the people, towards a balance that comes from acknowledging the earth as our first teacher once again. For me, rematriation is about asking consent of the land and listening. It's not something to be contained in academic terms and pedagogy. Rematriation is not reflected in crop plans and spreadsheets. When I let go of my need to exert my plan onto the land, I had an awakening and a deeper understanding of what rematriation on the land meant as a human being. I've come into a new space, a new land. Within our 5 years, we have been relocated twice. And so we were on leased land, coming to a new space again. And I was really excited because these new planting fields were ancestral corn planting fields of the Abenaki people. And I just assumed that I was welcome, and I went about making my plans. I even remarked how low the river was and that it would probably never see flood levels again, because it was just a trickle. Like, I felt like the climate had changed so much, its days were done. 3 days later, an epic flood washed away all of our early spring crops. It was the first flood in 23 years. And I cried my eyes out. I realized how impetuous and entitled I had acted, and I should have known better. So from that point on, I've been in a constant conversation with the land and the river. And I humbled myself and I asked what the land needed from me instead of what I needed from the land. And I learned to respect the river because she's always listening. And the land was really asking to be fed. There were huge blooms of wild mustard, and it just showed like a nutrient deficiency. And so we heavily composted, we side dressed with fish emulsion, and the land gave us acres of corn that were over 12 feet tall. And the wind had come and knocked the corn over, but it had such strong roots it righted itself. I got to see snapping turtle nesting grounds. I picked ramps, fiddleheads, mushrooms. I went fishing. I listened to a symphony of bullfrogs, and I felt held by the land. I felt loved by the land, like a mother to a child. And this season, I have carried deep grief and heartache. It's been a rough one. And in many ways, like, yeah, it was the roughest year of my life, but my spirit has been continually lifted and restored when I touch the soil, when I walk barefoot through the fields, when I receive a bird song or a medicine that I didn't even know I needed. For me, that's what building power for rematriation looks like from the root up. And being a part of this accelerator program with these phenomenal women, you know, it's a realization that I'm at the table with y'all, and it's really powerful and affirming, and I'm grateful to be here with you all. And so since it is Giving Tuesday, I do want to encourage y'all to donate. We need to support our youth apprenticeship program, and we are also in the process of a land return project. We have a commitment from Maine Farmland Trust to purchase land, but we will need ongoing support for infrastructure, upkeep, and educational programming. And I have attached a summary of our organization, and it has all the links to donate and all that good stuff. But I look forward to building relationships with you all.
Thank you so much, Kessi, for sharing your ongoing relationship with the land, because it is a relationship. We often view the land as an object, a thing to possess, and it's not. We give, and it gives back in reciprocity with each other. And so thank you for that, Kessi. I'd like to invite Sabrina next.
Hey, y'all. Okay, let me just get my presentation ready. All right. Hi, y'all. My name is Sabrina Chapa. Welcome to this solution series. And today I will be showing you two solutions to upscale decolonization towards Indigenous ecological justice. Little background on myself is my pronouns are she and they. Sabrina Chapa is my name. I'm Chicana, Mexica, and Tejana from the area you see here on this little map, from traditional ancestral lands of the Karankawa people, which is Gulf Coast and South Texas area. So the way I'm going to frame the issue to you today is that we're in ecological collapse. It's induced by colonialism, and we face all of these issues, right? The climate change, climate crisis, we face failing planetary boundaries, we face ongoing and exaggerated social injustices, and many, many more things that are not listed here that threaten our very existence. Sorry, I'm just trying to get this. I guess it's not going to present as I wanted to, but okay. So many of y'all might be familiar with the statistic that Indigenous peoples protect 80% of the world's remaining biodiversity, despite only occupying 20% of the world's land. Indigenous land stewardship has proven to be a critical solution to prevent and mend ecological collapse, and it's time to center upscaling this approach in addressing ecological catastrophe. But we can't begin to steward land that we don't have official governance over. And reclaiming land in a settler's America is a requirement for earth protection and knowledge preservation. So we were talking about Dr. Kucha Risling's-Baldy's presentation, and I found this graphic very important to kind of showing who owns what. And more so, both private and public land actually account for around 98% of land in the so-called US. They have slightly different pathways of ownership, and we're going to look into a solution that can embody both these two separate forms of land and really stop the root of the ecological collapse. We also, and to really stop the root of ecological collapse, we have to quite literally return land to Indigenous communities. So Taisla Tierra has a twofold solution. Our first solution is to tackle private land, and the other solution is to tackle public land. So for our first solution, looking at land-backed solutions for private land, I introduced to you the land transformation cohorts. So data from the 2020 census shows that Native Americans are 2% of the US population. However, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, make up only 0.4% of the real estate industry. So there's a 1.6 gap, and that's a really substantial gap. Indigenous peoples are not only underrepresented in the real estate industry, but we also have less systemic access to our ancestral lands. That's why Taisala Tierra seeks to disrupt and decolonize the real estate industry. We'll do this by establishing land transformation cohorts, which we see as a crucial and strategic step to return private lands to Indigenous communities. And this means that we are upscaling land back by increasing Native American and Indigenous real estate agents and bringing these Indigenous leaders to co-create action-based land back plans for their respective communities, given their new insider knowledge of how real estate processes go formally. This program will decrease emotional barriers that affect Indigenous peoples from getting into the real estate industry. It'll eliminate financial barriers by paying for the cost of the real estate licensure, the curriculum, testing, fees, and study materials. It'll increase community protection and gatekeeping ability. It'll increase socioeconomic mobility for those participants. And it'll increase funding pathways for all of us to kind of unlocking private land. All right, the second solution we have is land back solutions for public land. And I'll introduce to you today our Indigenous and Decolonial Policy Campaign program. This program creates Indigenous written and centered policies to reclaim public lands. We do this in the form of transformative policy making. And transformative policies are meant to sort of undo the settler system and attain meaningful materialized land governance and stewardship for Indigenous peoples. The idea is to use a settler logic system and governmental channels it has to move towards the end goal of officiating land return formally. Taisala Tierra will launch an Indigenous and Decolonial Policy Campaign program that will write localized policy to re-grant public lands to Indigenous communities in which local city, county governments occupy, and try to get those policies passed by on-the-ground organizing following the entire process of successful campaigning. So we'll look at this little brief example of what a decolonizing policy can look like. This is a policy that gets land governance back to the Coahuiltecan people in so-called San Marcos, Texas. And due to time, please focus on the point where the star is. It says, be it further resolved, the city of San Marcos shows apology of occupation, encroachment, and genocide of the Coahuiltecans and Native peoples by granting them full access to city public lands for traditional and cultural practices, freedom to decline law enforcement presence, autonomy and sovereignty, as well as the right to exist free of oppression. All right, now a recap. To upscale land back, we have to decolonize both the private and public sector. Taisala Tierra will pursue land transformation cohorts to increase Indigenous representation in the real estate industry and move towards community-centered land back planning. Taisala Tierra will also pursue writing and campaigning for transformative and decolonial policies in local city, county governments. And I want to state that although Taisala Tierra will be pursuing these two solutions, they are by no means exhaustive. There are so many ways to attempt to get land back or proceed and do that. But lands inherently should just be given back regardless, and settler institutions should have their reckonings with past harms they have caused. So I hope that these two solutions can serve as powerful models of just solutions and how the NGO industrial complex can work alongside Indigenous peoples towards a regenerative future to move closer to ecological justice and create thriving Indigenous futures. Thank you all so much for listening to my presentation today. I hope this can inspire you. And if you have any ideas or want to connect or partner, let me know. Wow.
I feel like you just gave us a whole synopsis in such a spurt period of time. And just to throw in, we will be following up with all of these wonderful links and resources that people have been throwing into the chat. You'll receive a follow-up as well. So thank you so much, Sabrina, for highlighting how important it is to be in partnership on many levels, including policy. And with that, I will pass it to Tiara, our last but not least.
Hey, peaceful greetings, everyone. My name is Tiara Burtin, and I serve as the CEO of Fertile Land Garden. I am a daughter, I am a sister, and I'm a healing artist from St. Louis, Missouri. During my time with WEA, I have been nurturing my artistic practice of naturopathic herbalism, gardening, and somatic movement to restore the relationship between women, their bodies, and the land. Um, I would love to share a poem with you all that was inspired by this work in the light of me being an artist, if that is okay with her. There's magic in my grandmama's garden. I've ran my fingers to trace these wise roots that maps a migration from Gambia into Congo, Cameroon, across the Caribbean Sea, from Haiti, Jamaica, and Cuba, into Sunflower County in Mississippi, up the confluences of St. Louis. The soil smells like Sunday morning hymns and deep rest filled with decolonized dreams. This connection is like a grandmama and me, old and young, rebirthing anew of the ancient. Massaging endometriosis and cysts out of the land, this has lingered in the wombs of Black women for generations. So we plant seeds of sacred womanhood, autonomous bodies moving to the beat of our hearts' drums. I know women who can move mountains with tongues that speak of telekinetics, who've turned shadows valleys into fertile lands, who've turned tears of violated women into irrigation systems of holy water, dripping purity into soiled souls with toes black and thumbs green, since land was $1 a plot and we bought up the block. I remember this land is my birthright because of the ancestral inheritance in my hemoglobin. What I know is I like my watermelons with seeds, my breath deep and free of fumes, and my water living. What I've learned is the land is me, and it is my name, Tierra, La Tierra. What I feel is a longing for an environment like my mother's womb, that even when the love is so powerful, it is not harmful. They say go hard or go home, and I'm starting to see that tenderness is my superpower, and that returning to the earth is to return to my body. This way of life is the only form of harmonious justice in a world that goes too far and not far enough. Thank you. So to speak a little more about the work. So I began gardening at the age of 6 with my grandmother. I come from sharecroppers who lived off the land. And I remember returning home in Mississippi during summer breaks and realizing how different the lifestyle was there from the inner city of St. Louis, Missouri. So to move forward, by the age of 19, I was diagnosed with endometriosis, anxiety, depression, PTSD, to name a few, just due to a lot of earlier experiences of gender-based violence and environmental racism. And at the time, I was a pre-med student, and so I learned that the nervous system and the reproductive system were connected. And my mother is such a wise woman, and she inspired me to follow my gut to pursue alternative ways to heal what I was dealing with other than medication and surgery. So I went back to what I knew, which was the land. I returned back to plant medicine, fresh foods, embodied movement, artistic expression. This is one of my paintings. And as of today, I experience no pain during my menstrual cycle, which is such a testimony. And I have the tools to reduce my mental health symptoms. While I am aware that there are systems of oppression that contributed to a poor quality of my whole holistic health and lack of land access, today I am also wise enough to know that I also was a participant in my own health issues and disconnect from the earth. I was engaging in my own colonization through a culture, right, that was thriving from my poor diet, from consumption of body products and beauty products that were toxic, and poor spiritual boundaries. Oftentimes, getting treatment for your health with Western medicine can feel like going to war in order to heal, and those two do not flow together. So, it is important to me to develop a lifestyle. My work focuses on catching community to support them and tapping into their power to love themselves into a better relationship with land and their bodies through culturally centered modalities like ecotherapy, somatic practices, naturopathic medicine, and artistic expression. Recently, we experienced land loss due to LRA policies. So our goal is to purchase our own land because through rematriation, we not only return to the land, we return back to our first environment, which is women, and a way of life that allows women to live healthy and fertile lives. This work is not something I simply read about. It has been my lived experiences. So like it was mentioned before, today is Giving Tuesday. And I'm asking all of you if you can sow a seed of abundance to uplift the future, which is a deep return to ancient wisdom. If you would like to continue to build community together, you can visit my website at www.tiaraburtin to sow a seed. And I also invite you to follow us on Instagram at Fertile Land Garden. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Tiara, for sharing that beautiful poem, and your strength as an artist to tell stories about how interconnected we are to the land, and that process of rematriation that is inextricably linked to our ancestry, that is also inextricably linked to our health and our healing, the healing of our ecosystems. And I am just so deeply inspired and, humble because you all exist and because you all are putting this hope forward into the world. And, sometimes it's very easy to get boggled down by all of the barriers that are being faced in order to achieve this work. So I especially appreciate when people like you, Tiara, and all of you share your stories through art, through poetry, through other ways of expression, because that helps us keep the hope alive. And I am very proud of us and our team for allowing space, for making space for you all to continue showing up. And there was a lot of love shared for WIA and the space that we've created, but it's mutual. Like, you've all created this space with us. You've all come here, shared your stories, prepared, written your scripts, polished your poems, did your presentations. This is a collective effort. And I and Kia, we are so happy to have been able to lead a space where you all exist and a world where you all get to be healthy and happy and held. So I want to remind, just because we are at time, I want to remind everybody that we have 2 other upcoming Solution Series events this week, tomorrow and on Thursday. So that's what's coming up next. We will be able to share that information. However you found us, with our emails or on our socials, we have information on how you can join the next calls. You can follow this QR code to become a WIA champion today. We want to remind everybody that this call is recorded, and we will share as a follow-up with all the links. And as we mentioned earlier, this series is part of a regenerative agriculture and health accelerator. Like all of our programs, we are focused on creating alliance building strategies that bring leaders together across territories to share strategies and learn from each other. And as you know, putting together public events and programs like this takes an immense amount of effort and resource. And I want to express my gratitude to our WIA team for everything it took to get these events together. The leaders in our program have shown up brilliantly, and to recognize that this is all made possible by support from our donors, funders, and givers. Thank you, really, from the bottom of our hearts, for your support. If you enjoyed today's gathering, or if you are simply called to this work, as I know many of you have been already, we'd be honored to have you join our Alliance efforts today by visiting all of the resources that were shared by our leaders, by also participating in our year-end campaign. We are made for this. This was a theme that was inspired by the group that we are with, where we show up every call and we know we are really made for this work. And you can support this work by making a one-time donation or joining our seed bank of monthly donors. It's through your drumbeat of support that we're able to continue standing alongside WIA leaders like those you had heard from today, and ensure they have all that they need to protect our communities and the earth from generations to come. So thank you so much for being here. And to our speakers today, we appreciate your collaboration. And we'll see you all at the next Solution Series on farming and foraging for communities and climate. Can't wait to see you all there. Thank you so much.